Hello students, welcome to the class. In previous class we have started history chapter 6, towns, traders and craftsperson. In that class you learn about different types of town and specifically I emphasize on the understanding the title. Right? If you understand the title properly, that town, traders, craftsperson, so you will understand the theme of the chapter, theme of why you are learning this chapter. Basically what happened when you are learning about any specific town, right? Suppose say for example at the time of Delhi Sultanate, Delhi developed. So at that time what was the situation? Delhi Sultanate make their capital at Delhi, then they shifted to Daulatabad, again they shifted to the Delhi. Delhi emerged as a administrative center. Suppose if you talk about the Vijayanagar, Chola dynasty. So whatever the empire was that at that time, they developed some center as main center. So in this, in that main center, under that main centers, various small towns develop. They prepare a network town, right? So in previous topic, you learn about the example with the examples of administrative center, temple town, and pilgrimage center. And there, in that paragraph, previous paragraph, they have given many examples that you can understand that what is the meaning of temple town or pilgrimage center. Now in this topic, a network of small town, you will learn about that how the small towns develop around a main center and how they create a market. Right? From the 18th century onwards, the subcontinent was dotted with the several small towns. These probably emerged from large villages, right? From the 18th century, if we see that this subcontinent, Indian subcontinent, was divided into several small towns, and these small towns are derived from large villages. They usually had mandapika. Mandapika is a Hindi word. Here you can understand as a mandi or in more familiar word market, to which nearby villagers brought their produce to sell. Right? You imagine a fair or you can imagine about that Shaniwari market or Itwari market. Right, you even in that Janmashtami fair also you can see that from the around villages people come to that fair and they sell their product. They usually had mandi later times to which nearby villagers brought their produce to sell. They also had market street called Hat. Hat is also a Hindi word. Actually, it is hatta and then it considered as a hat. Hat is means also market. Line with shops. Hat means a specific market. Like suppose vegetable market, you can find that both the side. You can find that sellers are selling their vegetables. Suppose cloth market on the both the side of the road, you will find that in a line with the shops of that clothes. So beside there were streets for the different kinds of artisans such as potters, oil pressure, sugar maker, toddy maker, smith, stone mason, etc. So for all these different varieties of the product, they were having hart or market. While some traders live in town, other travel from town to town. Right? You know that all the things are cannot be produced at a one place. So those who are living in the same town, they are selling. Suppose like your parents or some people, they are going to their shop and they are selling their product. But everything is not available. So some people they will come from other town also, other villages also. Many came from far and near to this town to buy local articles and sell produce. Suppose, as present, if we take example, suppose if you want to buy some good saris, then we will approach to Surat or Ahmedabad. Suppose if you want to buy some specific sweet, so we'll go to Agra or we'll go to some other place. Right? Suppose people like if people like to have penda, right? This is a very fine sweet from Rajkot, so they will approach to Rajkot. So each and every town, city has specific product of their taste. So according to that, people come and buy goods from that particular town, city, like that. So in that medieval period was also considering like that. Many came from far and near to this town to buy local articles and sell product of distant places like horses, salt, camphor, saffron, betel nut, and spices like pepper. So these all are the different examples of the things were sold in a market in a small town. Here you can see a scenery scenario of such a market, a city market, right? Here heading is given, figure 2, a city market. Usually a samantas or in a later time a zamindar, right? After samantas system gone, then zamindar system is started by Mughal Empire. Zamindar built a fortified palace in or near these towns. They levied taxes on traders, artisans and articles. So usually what they used to do, samantas or zamindars, they prepare a market-like structure in a main street of the town or outside of the town, and traders can sell and buy their product from here, but they have to pay taxes. Traders or artisans or articles of trade, so they have to pay some, like it in present time also we are paying taxes. Government has prepared all this market, right? If we want to buy and sell product, our product, then we have to pay government tax. Same, they have to pay revenues to the jamindars or samantas. They levy taxes on traders, artisans, and articles of trade, and sometimes donated the right to collect these taxes to local temples. And yes, in medieval period, temples were main authority. So, collecting this type of rights, they were given to temples, which had been built by themselves or by rich merchants. These rights were recorded in inscriptions that have survived to this day. Means whatever the right of collecting revenue were given, that recorded in inscriptions, and you can find this inscriptions at archives today only. Now, as we talk about taxes, so let us see which type of taxes on market. The following is a summary from a 10th century inscription from Rajasthan, which lists the dues that were to be collected by temple authorities. Right? It is one example that how they have given revenue collection right to temple authorities. There were taxes in kind on sugar and jaggery, dyes, threads and cotton, on coconut, salt, areca nuts, butters, sesame oil, on cloth. Besides these were taxes on traders, on those who sold metal goods, on distillers, on oil, on cattle fodders, and on loads of grain. Some of these taxes were collected in kind, while others were collected in cash. So these are the just example of some commodities, some ingredients on which they levied taxes. Temple authority in Rajasthan, temple authorities levied taxes. Okay, we discuss about the different types of town, different types of centers, different types of taxes. Now we will discuss about traders, big and small, right? In each and every time there are big traders, big businessmen, small traders. And in the same medieval period also there were big and small traders. There were many kind of traders. This included the Banjaras. Banjaras were familiar to you. Banjaras is a tribal community that you will learn in chapter 7 also. Several traders, especially horse traders, form associations with the headmen who negotiated on their behalf with warriors who bought horses. Like we are also having that group, like suppose pharma field, so they are having one association. Schools are having their association. Suppose clothes, so they are also having cloth association. Like this at present also the associations are there. In medieval period also, particular goods, particular commodities, particular things, sellers were having their association. On behalf of all these traders, they were negotiating their prices. They have given example of horse association. Those warriors who wanted to buy horse, they have to purchase horse on that negotiated price. Since traders had to pass through many kingdoms and forests, they usually traveled in caravans. Caravans means group of people moving together and form guild to protect their interests, because they are carrying valuable things with them. They are carrying, they are taking their horses. Suppose they are selling in horse, so they are taking with them. Suppose they are dealing in metals, gold, silver, or any other precious metals, so they are carrying them. So to protect them, their people and their all this product, they are always form guild. Guild means group. There were several such guilds in South India from the 8th century onwards. The most famous being the Manigramam and Nana Desai. Nana Desi. These two guild is group were most famous at that time. These guild traded extensively both within the peninsula and with Southeast Asia and China. There were also communities like Chettiars and the Marwari Oswal. You can underline this. This is also very important community at that time. Those who were considered as a big traders, who went on to become the principal trading group of the country. Gujarati traders, including the communities of Hindu Baniyas and Muslim Bohras, traded extensively. See, our topic heading is small and big traders. So we are talking about the different kinds of traders, those who are doing business. Uh, Suppose they have given some example of guild, Manigram, Nana Desi. Then they have given example of some important communities, Chettiars, Marwari Oswal, then Gujarati Baniyas, Muslim Bohras. They traded extensively with the ports of the Red Sea, Persian Gulf and East Africa. East Africa, Southeast Asia and China. They sold textiles and spices in these ports and in exchange brought gold and ivory from Africa, and spices, tin, Chinese blue pottery and silver from Southeast Asia and China. So these are the different commodities they were trading in that time. The town on the west coast were home to Arab, Persian, Chinese, Jewish and Syrian Christian traders. Indian spices and clothes sold in the Red Sea port were purchased by Italian traders and eventually reached European market. This is very important. From medieval period only, Indian spices, Indian textiles, especially very fine cotton and silk, were greatly demanded in European countries. But how it reached to European countries? Here it is given that through Italian traders eventually reached to European markets, and gradually they started liking it, and then they raised demand of Indian spices and clothes. European market fetching a very high profit. Spices grown in tropical climate like India, pepper, cinnamon, nutmeg, dried ginger, etc. were in great demand, became an important part of European cooking, and cotton cloth was very attractive. These eventually drew European traders to India, and gradually when they tested these things from India, then they thought that let us go, because at that time in medieval period, who were the intermediaries of this trade? Italian traders and other kind of traders, those who were selling through seaport. But then European traders, they were more advanced than Indian at that time. So they thought that let us go to India and then buy the goods what we want, and then we will sell it in European market at higher price. And in this European companies, European traders to come to India, right? They gradually you will learn in Form 8 how European companies started coming to India. Okay, so we will shortly read about how this changed the face the trading and towns. Now they have given another example of Kabul. With its rugged mountainous landscape, Kabul in present-day Afghanistan became politically and commercially important from the 16th century onwards. Kabul and Kandahar were linked to the celebrated Silk Route. Besides, trade in horses was primarily carried on through this route. Means from Kabul and Kandahar, Indian subcontinent were traded in horses and horses and silk. In the 17th century, Jean-Baptiste Tavernier, a diamond merchant, estimated that the horse trade at Kabul amounted to rupees 30,000 annually. At that time, it is seemingly it is minimal amount, 30,000. It's just, but at that time it was a very huge amount, which was a huge sum in those days. Camels carried dried fruit, dates, carpet, silk, and even fresh fruits from Kabul to the subcontinent and elsewhere. So these were the things they were purchasing from Kabul and selling to the Indian subcontinent. Even slaves were also bought here for sale. Crafts in town. Right? Third point of the heading is craft person. Right? Craft persons are also very important because they develop their artifacts, they prepare their artifacts and sell in the market, and they also develop trade in the town. The craft persons of Bidar were so famed for their inlay work in copper. You can see here example inlay work in copper and silver that it came to be called Bidri. You can underline student this line, it is very important. Craft person of Bidar, they were having this skill that they were doing this carving work on metal, especially on copper and silver. The Panchalas or Vishwakarma. Now you will in this paragraph you will find so many different kind of craft person. They having skilled in different artifacts. The Panchalas or Vishwakarma community consisting of goldsmith, bronzesmith, blacksmith, masons and carpenters were essential to the building of temples. And now you know that temple construction was a main thing, and for temple construction they need all this kind of people, all this type of craft persons. They also played an important role in construction of palaces, big building, tanks and reservoirs. Similarly, weavers such as Salayar and Koki Collars emerged as a prosperous communities making donations to the temples because their weaved cloth were greatly demanded in no doubt in Delhi Sultanate time also, Mughal Empire time also, and after that Mughal Empire, it was greatly demanded by European companies. So they became rich and they started giving lots of donations to the temples. Some aspects of cloth making like cotton cleaning, spinning and dyeing became specialized and independent craft. Right? Making cloth is not only a simple process. It needs so many activities like cleaning, cotton cleaning, spinning, dyeing. So all these activities are separately developed as an independent craft. Suppose I am very good in cotton cleaning, so I will purchase cotton, raw cotton from the agriculturist or farmers. I will clean it and then I will sell it to the weavers. Then weavers will weave and then sell it to the spinners. So in this way, this type of skills also develop in this time. Here you can see a very beautiful sample of 17th century candle stains with black overlay. Here you can see this Bidari work, and here town's shawl border. So it is a weaved woolen weaving work you can see in this shawl. Changing fortunes of towns. Some towns like Ahmedabad in Gujarat went on to become major commercial cities, but other like Thanjavur shrank in size and importance over the centuries. So means gradually some towns they gain more importance. Sometimes they started losing their importance because of so many obstacles, so many lacking of the facilities, transportation, banking, all these things. Murshidabad, West Bengal, on the bank of the Bhagirathi, which rose to the prominence as a center for silk and became the capital of Bengal in 1704. Decline in the course of the century as the weavers faced competition from cheap mill-made cloth from England. So gradually some towns gain more importance and some towns lose their importance because of obstacles. So in this way, many towns developed and many towns declined its importance. So hope children you learn about that. Yesterday's lesson we started with the topic discussion, heading discussion, then we threaded it in a one by one, that how first ruler established. Rulers established, they established their kingdom, and then what they did, what they will do, they started construction, they started employing people, they started ruling. How they will rule, they started trading, they started business, some new activities. In this way trade develops in medieval period. Then especially the commodities, which type of commodities or artifacts were more famous and more traded in that period, that you learn. You also learn that samantas and jamindars, they levied taxes also on trade, that if you want to do trade on these items you have to pay this much tax. If you want to do trade of this item, then you have to pay this tax. So in this way this system was developed in medieval period. Now the next part is a closer look. In closer look you will learn about the three towns, how they gain the importance in the medieval period, for which product, for which artifacts, or which activity, and still they were having their importance, or they gradually decline or shrink in the importance. So that you will learn in closer look. They have given three example, three cities, three town, we can say Hampi, Masalipatnam and Surat. Right? So that we'll do in next lesson. Till that time, have a fantastic day. Keep learning, student. Goodbye.